Why didn't you just leave? If you've ever been in a relationship that hurt you and stayed anyway, you've probably heard this question. From friends, from family, maybe even from yourself, at 3 a.m. wondering what's wrong with you. Why you keep going back. Why you keep forgiving. Why even when things are bad, some part of you still doesn't want to walk away. Here's the truth. There is nothing wrong with you. What you're feeling has a name and it has a science behind it. It's called trauma bonding. And once you understand how it works, the question changes completely. It's not why didn't you leave, it's how could anyone leave when their brain was wired this way. In this video, we're going to talk about why you get attached to someone who hurts you, sometimes more attached than to people who treat you well. We're going to look at the actual cycle that creates this, the chemistry in your brain, and how people break free, for real, not just for a few weeks. If this is you right now, if you're in something that hurts and you don't fully understand why you can't leave, I want you to know something before we even start. You are not weak. You are not crazy. You are not stupid. You are having a completely normal human reaction to something that was never your fault. Let's get into it. Let's start with a simple definition. Trauma bonding is what happens when you form a strong emotional connection to someone, through a repeated cycle of pain, followed by relief. Not pain all the time, not kindness all the time. A pattern. Bad then good. Bad then good. Over and over. Think about how that actually feels in real life. They say something that cuts deep. You feel awful. Then a day later, or sometimes just a few hours later, they're warm again, loving, funny, affectionate, maybe even more loving than usual, almost like they're trying to make up for it. And that relief feels incredible. It feels like coming home. Here's the part most people don't realize. It's not the good moments alone that create the bond. It's the contrast, going from fear to safety, from pain to relief, over and over again. That contrast is what makes the bond so strong. Much stronger actually than if someone had just been kind to you the whole time. This isn't a new discovery. Researchers have actually studied this for decades. It shows up in hostage situations, in cults, in abusive relationships, even in some friendships and workplaces. The pattern is always the same. Something scary or painful happens. Then comfort follows, usually from the very same person who caused the pain. And your brain starts to link the two together. So your brain starts to believe something untrue, but understandable. This person is the source of my pain, but they're also the only one who can make the pain stop. That belief is the entire engine of trauma bonding, and once it's in place, it's incredibly hard to undo just by trying harder, or wanting to leave more. Let's break the cycle down into its actual stages, one piece at a time. Because once you can see the pattern clearly, you start to recognize it. And that's the first real step toward getting free of it. There are basically 4 steps to this cycle. Once you see them written out, you'll probably recognize them instantly, even if you've never had words for them before. Step 1. Tension. Something starts to feel off. Maybe they get quiet, maybe they seem irritated. Maybe you can just feel a shift in the air, even before anything is said. You start walking carefully like you're trying not to wake something up. Step 2. The incident. This is the actual painful moment. It could be yelling, it could be cold silence, it could be cruel words or being ignored or something worse. Whatever form it takes, this is the part that hurts. This is the part that, on its own, should be enough reason to walk away. Step 3. Making excuses. But it isn't, is it? Because right after, your mind starts working hard to explain it away. They're just stressed. I probably triggered something. They didn't mean it like that. Everyone has bad days. This isn't you being foolish. This is your brain trying to protect the relationship and protect you by making the pain feel smaller and more understandable. Step 4. The good part. And then relief. They apologize. Or they're suddenly sweet again without even mentioning what happened. Or things just go back to normal, and normal, after what just happened, feels amazing. This is the part your brain remembers the most, not the storm, the sunrise after it, and then, eventually, tension builds again, and the whole cycle repeats, Each time it repeats, the path gets a little deeper, a little more familiar, a little harder to imagine living without. This is not a coincidence. This is exactly how the bond is built, on purpose or not. If you've lived this cycle even a handful of times, your brain has already started treating it as normal. Not okay, but normal. Predictable. And the human brain, more than almost anything else, craves the predictable, even when predictable means painful. Now let's talk about why this happens. Not just emotionally, but actually inside your brain. Because this part explains something that confuses almost everyone who's been through it. Why the good moments with this person can feel more intense, more powerful, than good moments with anyone else. Your brain has a chemical called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is just the feel-good chemical, but that's not quite right. Dopamine is actually more about anticipation and unpredictability. It's the chemical that fires hardest not when you get a reward every single time, but when you don't know if you're going to get it. Like a slot machine. That uncertainty is what makes it so addictive. This is why a relationship that is calm and steady can sometimes feel boring, compared to one that swings between bad and good. The steady relationship gives your brain a predictable, gentle dose of good feelings. The unpredictable one gives your brain huge spikes, because you never know exactly when the good part is coming, only that it eventually will. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. In plain terms, getting rewarded sometimes, but not every time, in a pattern you can't predict, creates the strongest possible craving. It's literally the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Your brain isn't broken for getting hooked on this pattern. It's working exactly the way brains are built to work. There's also something else going on with the stress hormone cortisol. When you go through fear or pain, your body releases cortisol to help you cope. And then, when the danger passes, when they're suddenly kind again, your body releases a flood of relief chemicals. That sharp drop from high stress to relief is, chemically, one of the most powerful emotional experiences a human being can have. So when people say a relationship like this feels intense or like nothing I've ever felt before, they're not exaggerating. Chemically, that's accurate. The problem is your brain is mistaking that intensity for love. But intensity and love are not the same thing. One is chemistry running on stress, the other is safety. Real love, the kind that's actually good for you, is usually calmer than this. It doesn't come with this much fear. It doesn't need a storm to make the sunshine feel good. If the only way you feel close to someone is after pain, that's not passion. That's a pattern your brain has learned to survive. This part is important, so I want you to really sit with it. If you've ever tried to leave a relationship like this, and felt physically awful doing it, you weren't being weak. You were going through something close to withdrawal, like your body actually missing a substance. Because in a way, that's exactly what's happening. Your brain had gotten used to those big chemical highs, the relief, the reconciliation, the intensity. When you take that away, even though it was hurting you, your brain notices the absence immediately. You might feel restless, anxious, empty. You might find yourself wanting to check their messages, or wondering if they're thinking about you, or feeling a pull to just reach out one more time. This doesn't mean you still want them back, necessarily. It means your nervous system is adjusting to a missing pattern, the same way it would adjust to missing caffeine, or nicotine, or any other substance your body got used to. It's uncomfortable, it's confusing, and it's temporary, even though in the moment, it can feel like it will never end. Knowing this matters, because a lot of people give up on leaving right at this point. They feel the withdrawal, and they mistake it for proof that they made the wrong decision. It's not proof of that. It's just proof that the bond was real, and your body is letting it go the only way it knows how, slowly and with discomfort. If you're going through this right now, please hear this. The hardest part is usually the first few weeks, not because the feelings stop completely after that, but because your nervous system starts to recalibrate. It starts learning a new normal, a calmer one. It just takes time, the same way any kind of withdrawal does. You are allowed to feel awful while doing the right thing for yourself. Those two things can be true at the same time. Here's something a lot of people feel ashamed of, but really shouldn't be. If a friend says something critical about the person who's hurting you, even if it's true, you might feel this strong urge to defend them. to explain their side, to say you don't know them like I do. That instinct can feel confusing, even embarrassing, but it makes complete sense. When you criticize the person who hurt them, it can feel, to the person inside the bond, like you're criticizing a part of them too. Their identity has gotten tangled up with this relationship. Defending the relationship feels like defending themselves. This isn't loyalty to a bad person. It's loyalty to the version of the story that lets them keep standing. There's also something simpler going on. If you admit even to yourself just how bad it really is, you then have to face a much harder question. What do I do about that? And that question is scary. It might mean leaving. It might mean losing someone you still love, even if they hurt you. So sometimes, defending them is actually a way of avoiding that bigger, scarier decision. It's also worth saying, you might find yourself minimizing what happened, even in your own head. Telling yourself it wasn't that bad, that you're remembering it wrong, that you're being unfair. This is your mind trying to make the unbearable feel bearable. It's not lying to you out of weakness. It's protecting you from a truth that feels too heavy to hold all at once. So if you've defended someone who hurt you, or downplayed what happened, please don't add shame on top of everything else you're already carrying. You weren't being foolish. You were surviving the best way your mind knew how, with the information and tools you had at the time. But here's the good news. Understanding why you did it is the first step toward not having to do it anymore. So how does this cycle actually break? Because it does break. People get free of this every single day. Let's talk about how it usually starts. For most people, it isn't one big dramatic moment. It's usually something small. A friend says something that finally lands. You see something written down, maybe even watching a video like this one, and you think, that's exactly what's happening to me. Or you simply get so tired, so worn down, that even the relief afterwards stops feeling like enough to make up for the pain. This is called the tipping point. It's the moment when the pain finally outweighs the relief, even the intense chemical flooding relief we talked about earlier. And once that tipping point is crossed, even just slightly, the whole cycle starts to lose its grip. Not all at once, but it starts. One thing that genuinely helps at this stage, and I want to be very practical here, is writing things down. Not to build a case against anyone, just for you. Because trauma bonding makes you forget the bad moments faster than you should. The good moments stick, the bad ones blur. Writing down what actually happened, in the moment, while it's fresh, gives you something solid to look back on later. Something your memory alone can't be trusted to hold on to. Another thing that helps enormously is rebuilding contact with people outside the relationship. Trauma bonds often grow stronger the more isolated you become. The fewer outside voices you have, the more power the relationship has to define your version of reality. Even one trusted person, a friend, a therapist, a family member, can become an anchor back to clearer thinking. And finally, and this is the hardest one, you have to expect the cravings and plan for them in advance. You will likely have moments, even after leaving, where you want to go back. That doesn't mean you failed, it means you're human, and your brain is still recalibrating. Knowing this in advance helps you ride those moments out instead of acting on them. It's not a straight line, nobody's recovery is, but it is a real path, and thousands of people have walked it before you and made it all the way through to the other side. So let's bring this all together. What do you actually do, starting today, if you recognize yourself in this video? First, just name it. Say it to yourself. This is trauma bonding. That one sentence does something powerful. It takes the confusion you've been carrying and gives it a shape. And things with a shape are easier to deal with than things that just feel like fog. Second, keep a record, even a simple one. A note on your phone, a private journal. Write down what happens, as it happens, in plain words. This becomes your anchor when your memory starts to soften the bad parts and highlight the good ones, which it will. That's not your fault. That's just how this works. Third, tell at least one person. Not the whole world. Just one person you trust, who can hold the truth with you when your own mind tries to talk you out of it. You don't need them to fix it. You just need them to remember it with you, so you're not the only one carrying it. Fourth, if you can, talk to a therapist who understands trauma bonding specifically. This isn't something you have to figure out completely on your own, and there's no extra credit for doing it the hard way. Professional support exists exactly for situations like this one. And fifth, be patient with yourself. This isn't going to feel resolved in a day or a week, or maybe even a few months. Healing from a trauma bond is slow, because you're not just leaving a person, you're retraining a part of your brain that learned, very deeply, that love and pain came packaged together. Unlearning that takes time, but it absolutely can be unlearned. You are not the person who couldn't leave, you are the person who is learning, right now, exactly why it was so hard. And that understanding is the first real step toward the door. Your mind is always working, even when it's working to protect you from something it doesn't yet understand. Stay aware. If this video helped you understand something about your own story, please consider sharing it with someone who might need it too. Trauma bonding often shows up alongside gaslighting and narcissistic relationships. If you haven't watched those videos yet, they're linked on screen right now, and together, all three will give you a much clearer picture of what's really going on. You deserve to understand this. Stay aware.